Hey everybody, my name is Akio-san, and today I'm going to be making a new video about some of my interesting Magic the Gathering related cards that actually are quite interesting and have significant value. And majority of these cards are pretty nice and they remain in my better section of my collection. And today I'm looking to show them to you. Alright, without further ado, the first card is a Urzus Power Plant. Now, Urzus Power Plant is a land, Urzus Power Plant, and it says you can tap it to add a generic mana, and if you control Urza's Mine and Urza's Tower, you add 2 mana instead of 1. So if you have all three of them, that is what is known as Tron. This is from Double Masters, and it is a foil version, so that's pretty sweet as well. Okay, the second card is a Fabled Passage. This is from M21. This is as well a land. It says you can tap it to sacrifice it. Search your library for a basic land, put it onto the battlefield tapped, then shuffle your library. Then if you control 4 or more lands, you untap that land. So essentially if you do it as a fifth land, you basically get it untapped. The next card is another foil. This is Master Transmuter. It is a 4 mana human artificer that is a 1/2. It's an artifact creature. If you pay a blue mana and tap it, return an artifact you control to its owner's hand. You may put an artifact card from your hand onto the battlefield. So, if you do it to yourself, you can return, for example, a Soul Ring or something like that, and you can cheat out, I don't know, a Blightsteel Colossus if you would be that mean. The next card is a Reaper King. This is as well a foil card. This is from the Mystery Booster set. It is a Wooburg or 10 mana legendary artifact creature Scarecrow that is a 6/6. It says other Scarecrows creatures you control get +1/+1, and then whenever another Scarecrow comes into the play under your control, destroy a target permanent. So it is quite interesting, and again it has the foil finish, which is as well pretty sweet. The next card is a Blood Artist. This is from Commander 17, and Blood Artist is a 2 mana 0/1 vampire. This is whenever a Blood Artist or another target creature, whenever another creature dies, target player loses 1 life and you gain 1 life. So pretty interesting card, not too shabby, especially if you're playing Aristocrat strategy with sacking creatures and gaining life. The next card is from M21. This is a legendary planeswalker Ugin called Ugin the Spirit Dragon. He is 8 mana. He has 7 loyalty. You can +2 him, and Ugin the Spirit Dragon deals 3 damage to any target. You can -X him to exile each permanent with mana cost X or less. That's 1 or more colors, and then his ultimate ability, you -10 him, and you gain 7 life, draw 7 cards, and put 7 permanent cards from your hand onto the battlefield. So this is a very powerful planeswalker, and very bad if you see it on the battlefield. The next card is a card from Kaldheim. This is a mythic sorcery. It is Alrund's Epiphany. It is 7 mana for a sorcery. Create 2 1/1 blue bird creature tokens with flying, and then you take an extra turn after this one, and then you exile Alrund's Epiphany. And then it also has Foretell for 6 mana. So quite an interesting card. One that's actually pretty neat, and the extra turn cards are always very interesting. The next card is from Time Spiral Remastered. This is an artifact called Lotus Bloom. It does not have a mana cost, however it has Suspend 3 for 0 mana. So you have to wait 3 turns for this thing for it being suspended, and then it comes onto the battlefield. And it says you can tap it to sacrifice it and add 3 mana of any 1 color. So kind of like a Black Lotus, however it has Suspend instead of just being 0 mana. The next card is another card from Time Spiral Remastered called Dismember. This is 1 and then 2 black Phyrexian. The Phyrexian symbols can either be a black or 2 life, so essentially you could use this for just 1 generic, but you pay 4 life. And it says it's an instant that says target creature gets -5/-5 until end of turn. So this is pretty sweet because you can easily play this for just 1 mana, and especially if you're using a life gain strategy, then you can give something -5/-5. The next card is actually another newer card from the Forgotten Realms D&D crossover called Aceroc the Archlich. This is a 3-mana legendary zombie wizard that is a 5/5. It says when it enters the battlefield, if you haven't completed Tomb of Annihilation, return Aceroc the Archlich to its owner's hand and venture into the dungeon. When Aceroc the Archlich attacks, for each opponent, you make a 2/2 black zombie creature token unless that player sacrifices a creature. So you can essentially get infinite enter the dungeon triggers or completing a dungeon with him if you get enough mana to constantly play him out, because he gets played out, and then if you haven't beaten Tomb of Annihilation, you venture into the dungeon, and if you venture into a dungeon that is not Tomb of Annihilation, he bounces your hand, and then you can play him again. Alright, Inspiring Statuary is the next card. It is a 3-mana artifact from... what set is that? I'm pretty sure Ether Revolt. It is an artifact that says non-creature spells you control have improvise, which improvise is your artifacts can help cast those spells. Each artifact you tap after you're done activating mana abilities pays for 1 generic mana. So essentially, non-creature spells you use can have improvise, which is interesting. The next card is a land called Rockfall Veil. This is from the new Innistrad Midnight Hunt set. It is the Gruul land. So it is red-green. It says when it enters the battlefield, it enters tapped, unless you control 2 or more other lands. So this is like the newer Czech lands they've reprinted. So that's pretty cool. And then the next one is a very cool card, and I'm actually very surprised I managed to pull it. It is a Showcase Arlen the Pack's Hope, yet again from Innistrad Midnight Hunt. This is a 2 red-green legendary planeswalker Arlen that has 4 loyalty. She has Daybound on this side, and then you can +1 her until your next turn. You may cast creature spells as though they had flash, and each creature you control enters the battlefield with an additional +1/+1 counter on it. And then her -3 is you make 2/2 green wolf tokens. And then if you flip it to night, she enters the battlefield as her Nightbound, as Arlen the Moon's Fury, which is yet again a 4 loyalty legendary planeswalker Arlen that has Nightbound, and then instead of her other ability, she has +2. You add a red and a green mana, and then her 0 ability is until end of turn, Arlen the Moon's Fury becomes a 5/5 werewolf creature creature with trample, indestructible, and haste. So very powerful, especially if you're utilizing the the 0 ability. You can make Arlen very powerful, especially with the indestructible and haste and trample. You can just get through a lot of blockers and manage to hit them for 5 most likely. Especially with the indestructible, it's very difficult to get rid of in that state. And then I like the frame around it for the showcase, and I also like the mechanic that it is a Daybound, Nightbound card, which is as well a very interesting mechanic on its own. But yeah, I think that will be all, and that is pretty much my collection of interesting and valuable cards I own that are not in my decks.